The tragic story of Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons was at one point seen as the next LeBron. He was the guy who was supposed to be unstoppable, the reason for the Philadelphia 76ers going through the process to potentially get a ring. Yet now, he is very rarely healthy, can't shoot, and is struggling more on defense. What went wrong for Ben Simmons after such an incredible rise to being one of the most exciting prospects in the NBA? Let's take a look at the tragic story of Ben Simmons. Considering all of the things that have happened to Ben Simmons since his time in the NBA, it's pretty easy to forget that he was one of the most exciting prospects coming into the NBA. Growing up in Australia, Simmons began to play basketball when he was just 7 years old, eventually choosing to focus on the sport at age 15. It was at this same time that Simmons represented Australia at the 2012 FIBA Under-17 World Championship when he was just 15 years old. That's the sort of thing that got him onto the early radars of the NBA scouts. But it was the move to Montverde Academy in Florida which really started to get Simmons some national attention. At the same school that produced guys like his future teammate Joel Embiid, D'Angelo Russell, and Cade Cunningham, Simmons became a superstar. In 2015, he was named Mr. Basketball USA, as well as winning Gatorade National Player of the Year. As a McDonald's All-American, Simmons was a big signing for LSU, and everyone knew he was only going to be staying at Louisiana for 1 year. His single season as an LSU Tiger showed just how excellent Simmons was. He had the ball handling of a point guard while using his 6'10" frame to score at a high rate in the paint and collect a huge amount of rebounds. Simmons was a unique prospect and the consensus #1 overall pick in the 2016 NBA draft. The Philadelphia Sixers were the team who won the draft lottery and picked Simmons with the first overall pick. Simmons was getting some heavy praise, even being called the best all-around player since LeBron James by NBA legends like Magic Johnson. Simmons would go on to fracture his foot, which meant he would go on to miss the entirety of his rookie season. But then he returned for a brilliant second season. He averaged 16 points, 8 rebounds, and 8 assists on his way to winning Rookie of the Year. While his shooting still came into question, Simmons showed he could still be a good NBA scorer. His third season was an improvement once again, as Simmons became an NBA All-Star. He was able to contribute to the Sixers in the playoffs, but reducing numbers were not the best sign for Simmons. He was able to become a 3-time All-Star, as well as being voted to the All-Defensive First Team back-to-back years. While his lack of scoring quite often brought criticism, no one could argue that Simmons was not an excellent defender who could be part of a successful Sixers team. By the 2020-21 season, expectations were high for the Sixers. Joel Embiid had become MVP candidate, and Philly had the strength to win the title. As the top seed in the Eastern Conference, that home advantage should have been enough for the Sixers to get to the finals for the first time since 2001. They cruised past the Washington Wizards, but they did face a difficult test in the Atlanta Hawks. Trae Young was always going to be difficult to stop, but the Sixers were heavy favorites. The Sixers as a whole performed poorly, with Simmons struggling in the series massively. In Game 7, the Sixers had the chance to put the game away, but Simmons passed up an open dunk. He did not attempt a single shot in the fourth quarter of 5 of 7 games, averaging just 10 points per game in the series, while shooting an abysmal 33% from the free throw line. The performance brought Simmons a lot of criticism, but it was the comments of his head coach which massively changed the trajectory of Simmons' career. So you may be asking yourself, what was the breaking point that led to Ben Simmons departing from Philly? Well, after the Game 7 loss, 76ers coach Doc Rivers said he didn't know whether Simmons could be a point guard on a championship winning team. Man, that's gotta hurt for any player to hear. But Joel Embiid's comments on how he felt the turning point in the game was when Ben passed up the open shot didn't help either. The combination of all those things led to Ben Simmons refusing to return to the team. He wanted to be traded, but the Sixers wanted to keep hold of their star. While Simmons did return to the team, he was thrown out of a practice a week later for refusing to substitute into a drill, and then his holdout continued. Due to repeated fines for missing games, Simmons became the most fined player in NBA history. That's not the sort of record which many analysts thought Simmons would have after his first few years in the NBA. Reports even suggested Simmons had been fined more than $20 million. By February 2022, a trade was finally agreed on which saw Simmons join the Brooklyn Nets, with James Harden going in the other direction. It was an incredibly messy ending to Simmons' time in Philadelphia. To have traded away a former #1 overall pick like that is not what the Sixers were hoping to do. There was some hope, however, with this new start in Brooklyn. Simmons could rejuvenate his career. He was joining a team with two of the best scorers in the NBA, so maybe there was a place for Simmons in his Nets lineup. As I'm sure y'all are aware, the move to Brooklyn has not worked out at all for Simmons or the Nets. Things didn't start well, with Simmons being diagnosed with a herniated disc in his back in his first season. Simmons was able to make his debut at the start of the following season. He was even able to help massively as the Nets ended 2022 with a regular season record of 24-12. The issues were starting to come up behind the scenes, and eventually Simmons found himself without the two superstars he had joined the Nets for. In the matter of just a few days, the Nets traded away Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. They immediately started to tank the rest of the season. Simmons himself missed the end of the season due to knee soreness and inflammation. Even when he was on the court, Simmons posted career lows in points, rebounds, assists, free throw percentage, and minutes. The former #1 overall pick has struggled massively in the last few years. The fall off of Ben Simmons has been incredibly hard to watch. Once seen as the next coming of LeBron, Simmons is now barely even a starter for one of the worst teams in the NBA. So where did it go wrong for Ben Simmons? To be fair to the Australian, injuries have played a massive part in Simmons' career. A pretty serious broken metatarsal bone in his right foot meant he missed the entirety of his rookie season, and the slow healing meant Simmons did not have the same energy as prior to the injury. After 2 seasons where he played almost every game for the Sixers, injuries started to return. A back injury slowed Simmons down in 2020 before a knee injury kept him out of the playoffs. Having finally gotten out of Philadelphia, Simmons was diagnosed with a herniated disc in his back before another back injury ended his 2022-23 season. Injuries have played a key role in keeping Simmons off the court, and you have to imagine that they've been a part of the reason for Simmons struggling when he is on the court. But his attitude problems also have not helped. There were concerns about Simmons' character before the NBA draft, and sitting out an entire season is not the best sign for any player. He has not helped himself by failing to improve on some key skills and never being able to produce assists or rebounds at a truly elite level. The Sixers were slightly harsh to put their playoff disappointment on Simmons, but I'm sure both sides could have handled things better. But seeing as Simmons has not had any sort of success with the Nets, more of the blame should probably go to the player and not the team. So much has happened to Ben Simmons that it's easy to forget that he will be 27 years old when the 2023-24 season ends. And I think there's still a way that Simmons can have a successful NBA career. Look, he needs to focus purely on defense, rebounding, and assists, because no team can win a championship if Simmons is your #1 or #2 scorer. He instead should be seen as like an excellent role player who could fit right into the right system. The Nets aren't the right place for Simmons. He'll be asked to do way too much on a bad team. If Simmons is to succeed, it's best for him to be in a team with at least 2 great scorers. With the right system, who knows? Maybe Ben Simmons' career is not finished in the NBA. Put in the comments the best team Simmons could join to revive his career. But look, you gotta remember, Ben is not the only player to have beef with other people on his same team. And if you haven't already, click on this video here to learn about the real reason why Shaq and Kobe hated each other. Thanks for watching. Till next time.